Alright guys, once again today is chest, triceps, and shoulders, and for this video, for my bench press routine, I am completely changing it up with something that I call a static negative holds, and these are huge in jumping your bench weight. But not only that, it's huge in helping you to take a weight that's towards your lower end and begin working with that more like it's child's play. Okay, that would be a good way to put it. And you're saying, well, what do you mean? Okay, let me explain this to you. Okay, so what's been happening now? My bench press session 4 days ago, I didn't put that on video. I just didn't feel like it. I just wanted to come out here and totally rock, my workout. But okay, 8 days ago, you can watch that video just previous to this, okay? 4 days later, I jumped in weight. Where I ended up is I started out with 185 warm-up, right? No, I don't warm up with just the bar. I started out with 185 and I ended up 285 for 6 reps. After that 285 for 6 reps, now that was a jump. That was a jump of 10 pounds. Every 4 days I've been jumping 10 pounds. And then what I did is I dropped it down to 250 for, I knocked that out 8 times, and then I dropped it down to 245 and I knocked that out 8 times, right? Now, I just said what we're about to do with our static negative holds is going to help us to start playing with these lighter weights, kind of like child's play. What it's going to do is this range I'm in of this 250, I'm going to jump that up probably 20 pounds over the next 2 weeks, where I can be repping that out. I could be repping 270, but here's the deal. My top end's really going to jump. It's really going to jump. So now let me explain. What static negative holds are. Static is when we're just holding. We're just holding, and we're not allowing that weight to move us. We won't let it push us downward, okay? A negative is when we control it slowly, all right? Now, think about this. We have more strength pushing as we're coming down on the lower end than we do pushing through. If that's the case, on a typical workout, when we're sitting there expending our energy, we never really tap that true source of strength, right? So now what we're going to do, now think about it. I want you to think about this, and I'm going to prove this to you. I want you to think about a time when you were at a certain weight level on your bench, and you jumped it to the next weight level, and you got under the bench, and it shocked you. It shocked you enough that in your mind you knew you could do it, but once you lifted it off, it shocked you enough that you mentally began struggling, right? Right? Okay, so this is how the static negatives worked. I maxed out at my 285, right? So what we're going to do today, I'm going to stack 315 on there. And what I'll do, for a minimum of 3 sets, right around 3 sets, you at least want 3. If you don't get any more than that, that's fine, because this is going to really be hard on your nervous system, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to stack 315 on this and I'm going to lift it off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it. And I'm going to begin counting in my mind, totally focused, totally concentrated, and I'm going to be breathing like no other. And then there's going to be a point where I can't stay locked out. There's a point where you can no longer stay in static, okay? And now what you're going to end up doing is you're going to slowly control that weight down to the point that you come to 100% exhaustion and you're done. But what we're going to do, we're going to set our mechanical spotters to where if it comes down, we're completely protected. And I'll show you your level on your spotters that you want, okay? And so we're going to come down on this negative, totally protected, and we're going to do that a minimum of 3 times. Now what's this do for us? Remember when you went from one weight on bench to the next and it was a shock to you? You were like, oh man, that's a lot of weight. Well, now what we're doing is we're pushing off whatever your max weight is, add 10 or 15% to that, okay? So I'm at 285 for my 6 rep max. I'm gonna stick 315 on there. And I'm going to do 3 sets of static negative holds with that. And what it's going to do, it's going to affect me all the way up to here, my neck muscles. It's going to make my chest muscles feel like someone stuck forks in them and pulled them, just literally pulled those out. It's going to take my biceps and it's going to strain my biceps for everything they're worth. Tomorrow when I go to back and biceps, they're going to be already just past. Remember, I just said this is going to totally kill your nervous system. For you to just come in and attack your nervous system, you have to really get in there with a large amount of your muscles, and you need to go in there and almost destroy these things. You want to get to the point where you're just not pulling tendons off of bones. That's what we're looking at. And the nice thing about this is if you do this correctly, you know, if you add 10, no more than 15% over your max, once you can no longer do your static and you're pushing, you're just going to come down to a rest. If you do it right, you really should not hurt yourself, okay? Now, viewer beware, you can hurt yourself doing this, okay? But now I want you to think about this, okay? There's some gold to this. What is weight training? I want you to think hard. Think really hard. When you're doing your bench press and you're pushing through it, you need all of your muscles in your entire body to be one. One mentally up here. And what this is going to do for me, and it can do for you over the next 2 weeks, is this going to force all of your muscles to jump in. Think about it. When you're on a bench press and you're getting close to maxing out, we can all tend to say, okay, that's good enough. But now all of a sudden, you have 10 to 15% more of your max on you, and your muscles are going, oh, we don't have a choice. Every muscle in your body's going to line up. Every muscle you've got is going to hold. And now every muscle is going to learn to work together in unison. So now what you're doing, you're training your muscles to work together in unison. And the next thing is you're putting them under a stronger load, so they're learning to handle a heavier load. And now the third benefit, now after you do, say, a couple weeks worth of this, cycle through it, say 4 or 5 times, right? Maybe 1 or 2 times a week. I would highly suggest at least a 4-day rest in between this. This is going to rip you up. It's going to rip you up beyond measure. And so what's going to happen is when you go back to your regular bench and you get up to that max, guess what? Your muscles aren't going to be shocked when you add onto your max, because they know what that extra 10 or 15% is going to do. And you might find that if you're doing these static negative holds and you're doing them for, say, 4 or 5 workouts in a row, you can actually increase, like this 315, I'll probably be able to increase that a bit. So then when I go back to my bench, guess what? The lower end, now think about it. So we're going to do the static negative holds 3 times, and then guess what we're going to do? We're going to drop down to that 245, 250 range, and we're going to sit there and rep it out. So now what's this do? Think about it. You just taught your muscles to work in unison under a load that a heavier load that you're not used to, right? The shock that they're going through is going to be much worse than when you go back to your standard workout. So now you can push that top end more without that shock. But now guess what you're doing? After you shock them and they're learning to push together, you're going to drop down and you're going to make them do a cadence together. And why? Because we have muscle memory. You're going to build into your muscles muscle memory so you can play with those lower weights like child's play. And when you can do that, that's going to bump your top in. And you're going to put some size on too. You should put some size on doing this, okay? So, guys, that's what I do, and it really helps me, okay? So now, just so you guys know, I wear my slingshot. I'm getting older. I find that, I'm not having to use my slingshot on my, my dumbbell flies, my decline or my incline anymore. But I find I have to use it on this, but that's okay, because this is still making me work that core part of the move, which is really what we're looking for, all right? And this is I want to say a couple more things about this, and prove me wrong. You'll hear some lifters say, well, when you're from here to here, you really don't use your chest. Oh, okay, well, you do these static negative holds and get back to me on that, okay? Your chest is going to kill you on this, right? And the other thing, while you're doing this, limit what you're doing to your chest. These are going to be really heavy. You're putting a lot on yourself. If you have a big chest routine, while you're doing this, like I'm going to do these, and then I'll do my my bench declines, and I'm going to do some pec deck, and that's all I will do, because this is going to rip you up, and you don't want to rip a pec, okay? So now I want to talk about my warm-up here. Today I have 195 on my warm-up set. I don't warm up at the bar. I just know this. I know on my last workout I rep 215, 245. I've got that right. So I stretched, I stretch, and I'm putting 195 on there. I know I can do, if I can do 245 for reps after a heavy workout, I know I can do this, right? So you got to calculate your warm up where you want it, but it's a waste of time to sit there. If you know you can rep 245, it's a waste of your energy and time to sit there and rep the bar and then rep 135 and then go up. You don't want to do that, okay? So that's a lot said, but this is a lot. It's a lot to take in. So lift safe, be very careful with this, and make sure you know where your mechanical spotters are at, okay? If you have the straps that dip, I would not do this. I wouldn't do this with those, okay? They gotta have a mechanical spotter. If you're gonna do this with human spotters, make sure you have very good experienced human spotters with you, okay? So here we go. This is gonna be my warm-up. So one side note, in my past videos, you've probably seen me struggling with the height of my J-hooks on my bench. I've been dialing that in, so let's just see kind of where I'm at, okay? Perfect. So on my first set for warm-up, I'm not looking for 8. I'm not looking for 10. I'm doing 5 or 6. I've already stretched out. I want to save my energy for the heavy stuff. Remember, heavy bench equals big chest, okay? Heavy weight equals big bench, okay? Keep that in mind, all right? Now, you have to ask yourself something before you lift this off. Do this every time, my friend. Did you put your mechanical spotters where they need to be? And what you want to do is when you lay down, you want to get in the habit of touching them and knowing. You don't want to just space off one time and lift that bar and realize they're a little too low and it comes down and it's just not right, okay? Your spotters should always be set up in a way that if you come down, you're going to be okay, but you can still get hurt, okay? So make sure you get your spotters where they need to be. Now, where should the spotters be? You're going to notice when I come down, my arms are somewhere close to 90. That means my chest and my triceps are still doing the work when I come down on these mechanical spotters, all right? So, here it goes. I'm going to be abnormally sore for a longer duration. It'll be a shocker, but you got to push through it. Don't quit. No matter how heavy it feels, don't you quit. Hold it. Lock your tries. Lock your tries. Now, you're breathing. Don't hold your breath and don't breathe too hard. Both of those scenarios can give you that, like you're going to pass out, and you could. If you got your spotters set where they should and they're good mechanical, you'll wake up and be just fine, okay? So go for it, okay? But what I do is I time my breathing for like 2.5, not quite 3 seconds. And because your body is using a lot of oxygen. So I'm breathing deep, I'm pushing it, but if you start going, guess what? You're going to start, and you're under this load. It's a tremendous load. And what's going to happen is, more often than not, you're going to drop the bar and get up, and then you're going to want to fall over, okay? Now, one thing, sit on your bench for a minute, okay? Get up, don't jump up. Sit on your bench for a minute and, get your mind focused. How long are you going to rest now? Now, this is critical. You want to rest long enough that you have 100% of your breathing ability. like if you're at rest and you're not huffing and puffing, okay? Once you get to that point, now we're focused and we're stepping back into it. If you wait too long, you'll get cold. But ask yourself this, why would you want to come back too soon for the next set and not have all of your air about you, right? So now what we got to do, I'm going to pull that 315 off. I'm going to throw the bar back up. I'm going to put the 315 back on. I'm going to lay down, do another set. That's what you're going to do too, okay? Here we go. Don't be surprised if, like on your second one and maybe even your third one, you can hold that static longer, even the negative, right? Because that first time we weren't used to that shock load. It's a big shock load. We're trying to lift that up and we're trying to stabilize on it, and now we know. So now your muscles are like, all right, I've done this. So now we're going to get under it with a little bit more, a rhythm to our body, and hopefully we can go a little longer. We'll see. Here we go. Got to have your bench perfect. If you feel yourself moving it, either way, you want to reposition it so you're just right, okay? There we go. Much better. Lock your tries. All right. So this is my third set. Now after this, I'm going to drop it to 250 for reps. Right now, where I'm feeling it all the way up into my collarbone, feeling the top of my chest, my biceps feel like someone's just squeezed them with a massive hydraulic system and just wring them out, and my triceps are almost, they want to be quivering a little bit, and my back, this is one for you. It really taxes your back. Think about it. When you're pushing this baby off and you're holding it, you got to keep your back in that squeezed position, right? So now when we come back from this, our back's going to be like, this is easy. And it's going to be in a squeezed position, and you're going to push off really easy, right? So it all comes together on this. You just have to see yourself through it. That's all, okay? think I'm bumping my bench when I'm stepping up to grab that bar. I don't know. That's where I'm moving the bench. When I roll out of it, I'm sliding down, I'm moving that bench. This is the first time I've done these at my home gym. When I got my first power rack set up, shortly after getting into it, I started having shoulder issues, right? So I never got to this far. All the other places I've done it, the bench was attached and I had mechanical spotters or good human spotters, you know. So, alright, so now what's next is I gotta push it for reps. So I'm gonna stack 250 on there and see what I can do. Alright. I have some good news, some bad news, and some more bad news. The good news is this weight that I'm getting ready to push, this was towards the bottom end of my workout 4 days ago. I repped this for 8 times, okay? And we just got done on the last 3 sets static holding a weight that was considerably higher than what our max rep is. And we lifted that weight off 3 times. So now when we lift this weight off, the good news is this is a cakewalk. We're going to grab this and we're going to lift it off, and that initial lift isn't really going to rob us of anything because all of our muscles now are working together. That's the good news, okay? The bad news is because all of our muscles have been working together, it's going to hurt, all right? And you now have to focus, and you have to push all your muscles, regardless of how you feel right now. You can't back out of it, okay? The last bit of bad news. If you're not honest with yourself, and you don't go to that point where you're just before failure, the entire workout, everything you just did, you got robbed. And you robbed yourself. You're saying, well, what do you mean, high boy? What I'm telling you is this. When you're bench pressing, and you're at that last set, and you're pushing the heaviest weight, when you're coming up on that last 1 or 2, if your spotter sees you struggling, takes it, he just ruined it. It's always that last bit that you need to tear your muscles down just to the point where you're not really pulling a tendon. You got to go that far. So if you go through all this right now and you get under this weight and you're like, okay, I'm done, and you could have done more, you just robbed yourself. Okay? And then what you'll have to do is come back in 4 or 5 more days and you'll have to repeat this, and you're going to have to just hate it anyway, right? So this is where we step up to the plate and we're not going to lie to ourselves, okay? So here we go. Now, you're noticing something. These videos aren't about me. These videos are about you. It's about you pushing through and making and achieving the goals that you've set out. There's only one way to do it. By being honest with yourself and saying, could I have pushed a little harder? Here we go. All right. So I want you to think about this. Think about this in terms of your numbers and where you're at with your bench. So on my last bench workout, which was 4 days ago, I maxed out 285 for 6. If I can get an extra, I push an extra. Shooting for 5, but I had enough for 6, okay? So I worked all the way up to 285 for 6. And my last 2, I dropped down. I did 258 reps. And then I did 245, 6 or 8 reps. I don't remember. So now, today, my goal was to do the 3 sets of the static negative holds at 315, and then I was going to drop down at 250. I just put 255 on, and you just saw what I did, right? So now I got to push one more set out. So I'm 5 pounds heavier. Now this is kind of how I see this playing out. Over my next 3 to 4 chest days, if I keep pushing this, that 315 could definitely go up, and I could see this 255 going up considerably for reps. That's why I'm saying the lower end of where you were at, just on your standard benching, you begin playing with that like child's play. So now where I was up in the say 225s to 245s, that's going to be lightweight for me. That's going to be just a nice repetitious weight, because I've skyrocketed myself up to the point where that's easy, right? And then after another 3 or 4 times of this, I'll go back to my standard, 5 or 6 rep benches, right? That's how it works. That's how I do it. And it's always worked for me, because there's a lot to be gained from static and negative holds. It's a ton. It's like an untapped resource that we don't take advantage of enough. So, all right, now, it's really important on this set. Right now I'm hurting. I'm really hurting, okay? It's not pleasant, but I eat it up. I eat it up. You guys do this, push it hard, you know what I'm saying. But now what I have to do, I have to push this for all I'm worth. Because if I don't, like if I just get on here and I just settle for a certain amount of reps, I just rob myself. We're going beyond the limits. Like I say, you want to go so hard that you're just not quite ripping that tendon from that bone. Not that we want to do that. I'm just saying we don't want to do that. We want to go as far as we can. If not, we've totally robbed ourselves, okay? So make sure you have your spotter set, because if you go to failure on this and they're set, you're not going to hurt yourself. You're going to be just fine, okay? Nothing wrong with that. So here we go. Yes! That's good. Alright guys, so now I'm going to finish the rest of my chest, triceps, and shoulders. I'm not going to have a lot to do. When you do this, you're going to find there's a tremendous load put on your shoulders, tremendous load put on your triceps. It's not going to take much. So I'm going to do some decline. Get on my pec deck. bust them out. And I'm not going to ask too much of myself. We don't want to tear up heck or nothing. We've already done this massive load. That's what you want. That's that old school workout right there. And then the big thing now is that I get adequate sleep. Get your sleep and get your protein. If I eat right, I can take 4 days off, come back and nail it, okay? If I don't, I come back and nail it and not fully rested up, that's where we get into trouble. You want to be rested before you come back and nail this like this, okay? Alright, guys and gals, that's the end of this video. God bless. We'll see you on the next.